Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. He'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome back from the weekend. How you doing? Did you have a good time? Let's check out what's going on here. Today is the 21st of October. Only a couple more days left in the sun sign of Libra. So we have a sun sign Libra, air sign. We've been talking about that the last couple weeks. And air signs about words and actions. Libra is about balance. The tarot card related to it will be the tarot card of justice, which has to do with balance, but karmic balance. Learning to say the things that help us and to avoid the things that hurt us. That's the things we say, the things that we do. So it's very important that we find that balance, and also knowing that the things we say and do are going to go out and affect things. So we have to make sure that the air we're using is for our benefit. Our moon sign is between two signs again as well. We are at a void, of course, moon going from Taurus to Gemini. That transition takes place completely at 11:14 a.m. Pacific time. So we're in that transition phase right now, going from an earth sign to an air sign. So once we make this transition, we're going to be completely in two air signs: communication, action, air. And we just need to make sure that we don't have a lot of hot air blowing around, that we get clear-headed about what is taking place. However, one thing to be aware of, today is the first day of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde are the times when Mercury appears to be going backwards, though it really isn't. It's a time when rule of thumb is don't start anything new, don't sign any contracts or anything of that nature. Use the time to redo or go over material you've done to double-check it. Make sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. Retrograde, go back a grade, go back a step, recheck your work. Because during Mercury retrograde times, Mercury being the planet of communication, there always seems to be a period during these 3 weeks of retrograde where there is miscommunication. And it does happen. If you pay attention to it, these things play out every time there's a Mercury retrograde. So just pay attention to what's going on. Take a moment to think before you speak, because during Mercury retrogrades, more than other times, there's always a lot of miscommunication. Accidents in cars, it's communication on the road, miscommunication there. So just take that moment, think before you speak, go over your work, double check things. That's what Mercury retrogrades are good for, okay? Now we got a couple of squares here. We got a square between the moon sign, which would be Gemini later on, and right here Neptune. Neptune, new perspective, changing our perspective to look at things differently, learning how to look past the illusion. So here we're using our mind and our communication to look past the illusion of things. And here we have another lesson that we got to deal with, again with Gemini and Mars. All this intense energy that's out there, a lesson that we can learn, how to use our words, not for anger or anything of that nature, but to find our words, maybe to use them to express some passion. Okay, so that's what's going on for today. The moon phase is 93% of the way full, making its way back down to the new moon, but we've got just shy of 2 weeks for that to occur. The Mayan Oracle, we're at a 4-tone day during the wave spell of the star, which is beauty and elegance. Today we're at the 4-tone day, which is the self-existing tone, and the symbol is the monkey, so self-existing monkey guided by the hand. The phrase for today is I define in order to play measuring illusion. I seal the process of magic with a self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of accomplishment. Space weather, solar wind 300 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is in the quiet range between a 0 and a 1. Our coronal holes have greatly subsided, however there still are a few up there that will be sending wind out into the cosmos, and we're still feeling wind from some of the previous holes that were there. M-class flare possibilities now down to 25%, X-class down to 1, and geomagnetic storm activity has gone pretty low as well. Here's today's Suspicious Observer Report.
Good morning, folks. Starting by revisiting the Australian bushfires. State of emergency is declared in New South Wales. Sydney continues to remain in the firing line, and 2 massive sections of this fire are expected to try to merge in the coming days. Coming now to brucegary.net/ISON, there has been speculation that the observed forward-facing jet was not real. The speculation came from the folks at Hubble the day after this crew suggested that a potential outburst from the same may be indicated by a brightening of the coma to come in the next few days. Well, that's precisely what we got, and that's what you see here on Gary's RC band magnitude. We are above the brightness prediction lines for the first time in a while. Last article is a great one for perspective. Macro level analyses of global moisture patterns, especially as they differ from northern to southern hemisphere. Got twins in the Western Pacific. Both are going to be powerful events, and as of now, tracks show northward movement to both cells. South of that, New Zealand is still getting the funneled moisture off that Australian high. And while the leading front pushes through Europe, the next is now cresting España y Portugal. The Americas have powerful Hurricane Raymond off the coast of Mexico. Despite his likely course out to sea, he's already affecting coastlines, and the lows encroaching the United States down from Canada are cannibalizing this storm, ripping the moisture across Mexico and over the Gulf states. The lows driving in behind them are pushing that colder temperature down across the border. Solar flares, still around the low C range. The left half here is the incoming half, and some of these groups do appear to have significant umbral size and magnetic complexity with both positive and negative, blue and red, as actual sunspot umbras within close proximity, and preferably for large flares within the same penumbra. We're just not getting the large flares. Solar wind telemetry from the ACE satellite shows calm while we await another coronal hole stream. Perhaps it will be complemented in a few days with minor interplanetary shocks. The surface events you see here are not major eruptions by any stretch of the imagination, but ejecta was certainly produced from Earth-facing positions on relatively low latitudes. Stereo A is showing that at least some plasma's got a good chance to nudge our magnetic shield. Enlil Spiral from NASA is updated to show one of the CMEs as well. Not sure it's the same one I just showed, but they predict a small to moderately powerful CME that will either miss Earth or give a glancing blow on Wednesday. Coronal and umbral magnetic fields here atop departing red negative coronal holes with incoming green positive ones. The fields are semi-blocking the Earth-facing magnetism. The coronal hole power is going hard right now, but that's confined to those departing red openings. The incomer we just saw in green before is lacking major power at this time. Mercury still conjoining Saturn and darn close to the Sun as well. We do see global upticks, potential foreshock signals, and some unusual location rumbles, but we wait for another significant big one. Sun is pop-lock and dropping, but that was all practice. The space weather concerns are about to be Earth-facing. 2 fairly massive plasma filaments and those potentially developing delta spots. Eyes open. No fear, it's 6:45 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Alrighty. Okay. Alright. So, I have a piece I want to play for you. It is called Whistleblower Exposes Government Shutdown, and FEMA, ISON, UFO Coverup. The reason I want to play this particular video for you is because there's a lot going on in the world that we're very aware of. Okay, we've heard a number of different stories of ISON, the speculation of what it is. It's going on out there. We've heard the stories of Nibiru for a long time. We've heard stories of extraterrestrials and stories that humankind likes to tell about extraterrestrial invasions. And then if we think back to Wernher von Braun, and Wernher von Braun talking about the extraterrestrial invasion card. Okay, the reason he was talking about it because it was to be a false flag event, something that would be played on the American people. So he said first there would be terrorists, then there would be asteroids, and then there would be the alien invasion. So this piece here, I'm not certain of the 100% reality of it, as it is with a lot of times with these whistleblowers. All you can do is listen and see what you think. But there's some information here which could be valid. It certainly pertains to the events that are taking place. I have noticed in the last week on Ancient Aliens, they did a special on the Anunnaki. Last night as I was channel surfing, it was only 11 o'clock, and I was on channel 5, and there they were running a special unsealed files, and there they were doing something about the Anunnaki. Seems that we're hearing more and more about the Anunnaki lately, and then the possibility that this object coming in is Nibiru. You've got the ISON, and then you have the object that is being seen in the western skies. A lot going on. So we need to pay attention so we're not fooled one way or the other, so we're aware of what's taking place. So all this being said, I'm going to play this for you. I want you to take it with a grain of salt and see what you think of this. See if this makes sense to you, and if it does, just log this information away so you have it. And if it doesn't make sense to you, then, you know, could be, maybe it is nonsense. But I want to play it so you know what's out there, and you can decide for yourself. All right? Here we go. It's a phone interview with Dr. Norton, NASA.
My name is Dr. Eric Norton, and I have worked as an outside consultant for the NSA and NASA for going on 12 years now. My security clearance at present warrants my need to take the appropriate steps to keep myself protected the best I can. One of those steps is not to give too much information about myself. What I can tell you is that I have worked as an outside consultant on many projects led by our government, the U.S. government, including with more recently, the Meteoroid Environment Office, or MEO, which is involved in several research projects with installations located throughout North America. The underlying goal of these projects is to gain a better understanding of the meteoroid environment so that the MEO environment models can be improved. We basically monitor the skies, track meteors and other objects in space, and to date have made some very interesting observations, to say the least. Some very chilling observations, in fact. Observations that, if revealed to the public, would not only change the game forever, and we're not just talking the breakdown of all religions and a total overhaul of everything we've ever known about the universe and space, but we are talking the breakdown of society itself. We are talking about a subject matter that, even up until today, carries with it a level of disbelief amongst the majority of the worldwide community. On January 22nd, 2012, I was called to the McDonald Observatory in Texas, which happens to be the second largest optical telescope in the continental U.S. I received a phone call from an associate with the observatory and was booked that night on a flight out to Texas, where I was met by an agent reporting to be with Homeland Security. He didn't say anything to me other than that he had been dispatched to see that I had reached the observatory and reviewed the information within that was awaiting me. Now, when I arrived at the McDonald Observatory, I was met by a second man with Homeland Security, and by this time I was really dumbfounded as to what was going on as it pertained to me. I had never dealt with matters of national security, so I was really lost as to what it was that could be so urgent that it warranted this almost security guard-like behavior from these two agents. I was quickly shuffled back into the main observatory chamber, where I met 4 other gentlemen who were involved with the operations of the observatory. And what they showed me was of such shock to even my belief system that once confirmed, I had to sit down and take a moment to get a hold of myself. What I saw, I can best explain in my own words as an array of massive three-dimensional black structures in space, in straight line formation, advancing in the direction of planet Earth. I know this because I was shown images taken 3 months prior which depicted the very obvious course of direction by these things, which had moved millions upon millions of miles closer within just months. I'll let you do the math in terms of how fast these things were moving. Now, I was there with the understanding that it was my job to aid in gauging exactly what type of composition these objects were made up of, and whether they were man-made, natural, or unnatural to anything seen before it. Now, using the scientific instruments provided by NASA that are available to us today, we were able to discern the fact that these were not naturally occurring materials, and that they were, to our best but limited understanding, some sort of metallic, carbon-reinforced material, several thousand times the structural hardness of what we have today, whether it be natural occurring diamonds or carbon nanotube type material. The objects seemed to also be emitting some sort of force field that deflected space particles from touching their surface, almost like the magnetic field around the Earth, which shields it from the sun's rays and solar material. The objects were getting so close that with our telescopes we could see the structural features of these things in high detail. They were shaped in the best way I can describe as a three-dimensional L-shaped craft. I use the word craft loosely, as we do not know if these things are piloted or vehicles at all in the strictest sense. All we knew is that they were moving, and moving fast. By January 2013, the objects had been tracked to about 200,000 miles past the planet Mars. Once they reached this point, almost instantaneously the objects vanished from our telescope lenses. I mean completely vanished, and as if they had activated some sort of invisibility shield at the flick of a switch. That's the best way I can describe it. We couldn't see them on any form of radar we have, or any other visual medium available. We were left scratching our heads, and by this time, I knew that the upper echelons of the U.S. government were worried about these things, because I was under a constant 24/7 guard by Secret Service agents, who kept a close eye on me every single day since late 2012. I did not go home, go to the grocery store, or wake up in the morning without the reality of knowing that I was being watched. Some very powerful, high-up people were keeping an eye on me and the work that we were doing regarding these objects. Although I was never told about this, it was obvious with what I saw going on around me and the personnel involved. So for nearly the entire year of 2013, we watched the skies in disbelief of what had occurred. We didn't know what was going on or where these things were. According to my calculations, these things would have been so close to us by now that we would have no problem seeing them in the night sky had they stayed visible to us. But as I said, we didn't know whether they were still coming in their recorded direction or if they had simply left the solar system altogether. We just didn't know enough to gauge what was going on and what these things were really here for. I was sent home awaiting orders to continue my work if needed, and for some 6 months I did not hear so much a phone call regarding this situation. It wasn't until all of this commotion regarding the government shutdown, particularly of all the space surveillance projects, that I made some calls to see what was going on. Sure enough, what I had feared the most had been confirmed after I contacted a close friend whom I had worked with confidentially on this project at the McDonald Observatory. I asked him what was going on, and was there something to all of these space monitoring programs being shut down, including NASA, and was there cause to worry? My colleague sounded extremely unnerved when I spoke with him. At one point, it was almost as if he was trembling in his speaking. And I asked him, what is going on here? It was then that he told me that the objects had reappeared and had positioned themselves behind the moon. The blackout of all space monitoring programs was essential to keeping the lid on what had happened. I did not speak with my colleague long due to the fact that he was not supposed to be speaking with anyone and was risking even his own life even calling me back. But what I do know is that these objects reappeared sometime earlier this month and positioned themselves in a circular type alignment, which allowed them to dock to the backside of the moon, or just above the backside of the moon, so as to remain virtually invisible to sky watchers. The things are up there, and they're just beyond our view of sight when we look up at the moon. We don't know what they are, what they're doing, or what they're going to do, We do know that there have already been fluctuations in Earth's gravity field and the gravity field which links the moon to the Earth. These things are stationary, and they are at this very moment sitting behind the moon. No movement, no radio signals, no nothing. We are at a standstill as to what will happen next, or if these things will suddenly reveal themselves. It also calls into question just what it is we think about the moon, and is there a reason these things chose the moon to begin with to migrate to? You also take into account the recent ballistic Topol mission launch led by Russia, which was witnessed from space by Italian astronaut Luca Parmitano after having seen a strange afterglow above the Earth which looked like a missile contrail. The thing that is strange about this is that the Topol missile uses solid fuel as propellant, so it cannot have been the dump that the astronauts saw. I'm not sure now what caused the cloud, but it's clearly associated with the missile itself. Now couple that with the recent shutdown of NASA and the furlough of 98% of its employees and the shutdown of the International Space Station's live feed, and I think you can start to get the picture. They're definitely hiding something, and I've done my best to describe what that is here today.
All right, so there you have it. This is Secure Team 10 is the uploader at YouTube, so the video's there, the link's available, you can check it out, see what you think, if that's real or if that's not. But now you know what exists, and so something to consider. All right, UFO news is up next. Stay tuned.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today I have 4 stories. Story number 1 goes back to the end of September 29th. This was a UFO sighting over Iceland landing in a public neighborhood. There's a neighborhood UFO in question. This UFO was caught on live cam of Akureyri, Iceland last week. The glowing UFO shows up from the clouds and then slowly descends until it lands in an area that appears to be a housing area. This particular live cam takes still images every few seconds, so yes, it's normal. Something that bothers me is that the name Akureyri, it is from the friendship case. What I'm saying is that in Rocopia, Italy, there was a group of aliens that met with locals back in the 60s and 70s. They called themselves the W56 and sometimes by the name Akureyri, which is very similar to the pronouncement of the city name Akureyri. Was this the alien group which founded the city a long time ago to hide yet another underground alien base? Well, that's very interesting. And here is the objects in question. You can see the object coming down right here. And it's a 43-second video, and there we go. It's going to land. People don't know what's going on, not even aware of it. And there it goes. Looks like the setting sun, but it is not the sun. Because if it is, things would be getting brighter as it got closer. Alright, very interesting there. So what's that one all about? Don't know, not sure, but the link's available so you can see what you think. Alright, here we have amateur astronomer films UFO over Tucson, Arizona. This was on October 16th. So here are objects in question. We see we got some red and white ones, different colors. It says a hobby astronomer recorded these objects in the night sky over Tucson. He watched the clear starry sky when he saw 7 objects. He watched the objects 5 to 6 minutes before he remembered that he had a camcorder in the trunk of his car. When he came back and finally found the objects again, he could only record 4 of them. He is a hobby astrologer for 30 years. He's never seen anything like that before. If it would have been only one object, he probably would have suspected a satellite, but this is somehow mysterious. And there we go. There's our objects in question, flying in what appears to be somewhat of a V formation. Okay, and moving right along. Next we have a UFO over Cartagena, Chile. Okay, nice bright light there. You can certainly imagine, again, think of the nighttime sky and think of a time when people didn't have the technology that we have. When they see this, what they might think it is. Okay. There it is. That's over Cartagena. And one more story here. This is Laguna Niguel in California. And this was UFO captured by an 11-year-old. Interesting video of a dark UFO or orb captured in the sky by an 11-year-old above Laguna Niguel. It was captured, my friend's son of mine in Laguna Niguel, while on a sleepover at my home. He had his experience with me as well of these photographs. Photos taken from his cell phone. Okay. Managed to get 2 shots before the craft took off. Alright, and there's another one right there. Okay. Very interesting indeed. And that is our UFO news report for today. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the...
Okay, here I am. Sorry about that volume increase there. Alrighty. Ready to see some of the craziness going on in the world? Yes, there is craziness. Okay, here we've got the regime of long knives. Obama fires 2 more military leaders. What's he up to? Good question. The total now stands at 11. The Army Times reports that 2 more high-ranking military members, each with impressive resumes and service records, have now been relieved of their command duties. That's 11 this year, and it's only October. No reason for the action was given by the Hussein Obama regime other than it's not related to criminal conduct. There have been new rules of engagement. Have there been new rules of engagement for command issued? Are the players of the old meeting with the rules of today? If they won't play ball with Hussein Obama, do they get booted from the roster, traded for a player who will? We should take some serious looks at the new teammates in charge. The latest to bite the dust are both members of the Army's 143rd Expeditionary Sustainment Command, deployed in Camp Arjafan, Kuwait. One Brig General Bryn W. Zampler was the commanding general, and the other, Commander Sergeant Major Don B. Jordan, was the senior enlisted man. Major Thomas Campbell, spokesman for the 1st Theater Sustainment Command, announced the suspensions effective October 10th. This comes on the heel of the firing of 2 generals who were guarding and securing the nuclear weapons. Okay, so we can go on, but something's taking place with this Obama regime because he keeps firing these generals. What's taking place? Don't know, but something to be aware of. Now, here we have an article from CNN, and of course CNN isn't the be-all end-all of news reporting. We know about them, but we want to at least see what they've got going on, and they've got the story here. Mexico lashes out against report of U.S. spying. Goes on to say that's how the Mexican government responded Sunday, or unacceptable, illegitimate, and against the law. That's how the Mexican government responded Sunday to new allegations of U.S. spying reported by Der Spiegel. According to the German news magazine, the National Security Agency systematically eavesdropped on the government. It hacked the public email account of former Mexican President Felipe Calderon and was also used by cabinet members, Der Spiegel said. The magazine quoted documents leaked by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden. The practice is unacceptable, illegitimate, and against Mexican and international law, Mexican's foreign ministry said in a statement. It added that it would push for speedy investigation. In a relationship between neighbors and partners, there is no room for practices alleged to have taken place, the ministry said. A senior U.S. Department official told CNN that the Mexican government reached out about the report and that 2 governments will be discussing it via diplomatic channels. The NSA said it would not comment publicly on every specified alleged intelligence activity. And as a matter of policy, we have made clear the United States gathers foreign intelligence of this type gathered by all nations. Okay? So that's article number 1. But the plot continues, because over at RT we have this from France. Unacceptable and shocking. France demands explanation for NSA spying. France has called for an explanation for the unacceptable and shocking reports of the NSA spying on French citizens. Leaked documents revealed the spy agency records millions of phone calls and monitors politicians and high-profile business people. The U.S. Ambassador to France, Charles Rifkin, was summoned by the French Foreign Ministry to account for the espionage allegations on Monday morning. I have immediately summoned the U.S. Ambassador, and he will be received this morning at the Quai d'Orsay, which is the French Foreign Ministry. French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius told the press, he added that we must quickly assure that these practices aren't repeated. Okay? Now, so that's what we got. We got Mexico and we got France. They're not liking what's going on with the NSA. Let's see what the NSA or the United States is doing here in regards to the NSA. We got 2 countries now. They don't like it. They're going to look into it. USA is probably going to take this seriously. Let's see what they have. Oh, wait. U.S. asks top court not to take case on NSA cyber snooping. President Barack Hussein Obama's administration is urging the Supreme Court not to take up the first case it has received on controversial NSA cyber snooping. U.S. government attorneys argue that the Supreme Court does not have the jurisdiction to take the case. Filed in July by the Electronic Privacy Information Center. EPIC believes the NSA overstepped its authority by carrying out broad communications monitoring and surveillance worldwide and demanded the program be stopped. A U.S. Supreme Court decision to take the case would be a drastic and extraordinary remedy that is reserved for really extraordinary cases, argued Donald Verrilli, administration lawyer, in the statement released late Tuesday. The U.S. administration also believes the EPIC suit cannot move forward because it argues the court lacks the authority under the 2001 Patriot Act to weigh on the legality of NSA legalities. The court lacks jurisdiction to issue on the writ of certiorari to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the Secret Intelligence Affairs Court, Verrilli added. In mid-August, President Obama pledged to overhaul U.S. spy programs amid a debate sparked by the leaks of former NSA contractor Edward Snowden, which revealed vast telephone and internet surveillance program. So, isn't it strange? You got 2 countries, you got Mexico and you got France, not liking the NSA, want to look into it. But here in America, hands off. Don't look at them. See, it just goes to show the corrupt system that is in place. It's an absolutely corrupt system that wants to keep spying on you. But here's some karma for you. It appears that the NSA Center in Utah has been going through lots of problems. Fires, electrical issues. There's been people there that unfortunately have been injured. And they're having all kind of problems at their facility. Well, it's hard to feel bad for that because they've been spying on Americans. And as you are now hearing, they were spying on other countries as well. Who would do that? Who would be so low down that they would do that? Unfortunately, America. Unfortunately, Americans. Sad. Sad, sad, sad. Let me show you something here before I move on. This is a picture that I found. That is a picture. This is a picture of the Washington Monument, not the Mount Rushmore. And this is a picture that was taken after the shutdown ended. Strangely enough, look at this. It looks like they're crying. Just the way that the picture was captured. This isn't Photoshop. They say this is real. It just captured how they're looking. The founding fathers up there are crying about what's going on in this country. And they should be crying because we have a traitor in the White House. And by all the evidence that we're seeing, this traitor is getting more traitors to support him in the military. He's getting rid of good military people or some people that maybe aren't going along with him. So what's going to happen? Why is our military rolling over? I thought our military was tough. Why are they rolling over and all of these officers getting fired? Fired by a man who does not have the proper credentials to even be the President of the United States. To you officers in the military who are allowing this to happen, you should absolutely be embarrassed for yourselves and for your families, because you are being fooled by a man. And if you're allowing this to happen, shame on you. Shame on you. Our United States military used to be something to be proud of. But if that's the activities, if you've become corrupt in such a way like this, then we can't be proud of that. And you can't be proud of yourselves if you're allowing a man who doesn't even have the credentials to be president to be doing this to you, to dismantle your forces. You need to take a good hard look at what's going on with you guys, with the military, and understand what happened to the courage that was there. Because I don't see any courage. I just see a lot of you being pushed around by a tyrant. And I thought that you were brave. A lot of Americans thought you were brave. What's up? What happened? Or are you just corrupt and you're just getting ready to go and pull a fast one on the American people too? I don't know. It's hard to tell these days, but I certainly hope that there's enough military out there in this country that does have their head in the right place and isn't going to be following some tyrant and isn't going to be allowed to keep this unconstitutional stuff going. I hope there's enough brave military individuals that actually do believe in their oath and will stand up. I hope so. America hopes so. Otherwise, you're doing us no good here, and you might as well just disband, and maybe that's what Obama wants, so he can roll over this country. Remember, his middle name is Hussein. Moving on. Here's a piece from the Herald. It says, "The ocean is broken. It was the silence that made the voyage different from all of it before." Not the absence of sound exactly. The wind still whipped the sails and whistled in the rigging. The waves still sloshed against the fiberglass hull. And there were plenty of other noises, muffled thuds and bumps and scrapes as the boat knocked against pieces of debris. What was missing was the cries of the seabirds, in which all previous similar voyages had surrounded the boat. The birds were missing because the fish were missing. Exactly 10 years before, when Newcastle yachtsman Ivan McFadden had sailed exactly the same course between Melbourne and Osaka, all he had to do to catch a fish from the sea between Brisbane and Japan was throw out a baited line. This was not one of the 28 days in that portion of the trip when we didn't catch a good-sized fish to cook up and eat with some rice. But this time, on that whole long leg of the sea journey, the whole total catch was 2. No fish, no birds, hardly a sign of life at all. In years gone by, I'd gotten used to all those birds and their noises, he said. They'd be following the boat, sometimes resting on the mast before taking off again. You'd see flocks of them wheeling over the surface of the sea in the distance, feeding on pilchards. But in March and April this year, only silence and desolation surrounded his boat. Funnel web, as it sped across the surface of a haunted ocean. So, that's a sad story to hear what's going on with our oceans, how things are dying off. We are killing our planet. And I say we, and it's kind of hard to say that it's just the general population, because it isn't. It's these large corporations that are doing the damage. The ones who have created all these nuclear reactors that have leaked, and have leaked their nuclear products into the waters. The ones that are contaminating the food supplies and the air. Yeah. Problems have been created by these big corporations who are trying to pin the blame on people. It's shameful, folks. It's shameful. But I feel comforted knowing that all the stories talk about the returning of beings to this planet who are going to remove the wicked and the ungodly. So I look forward to that time, because there are many wicked and ungodly that have been poisoning this planet that are going to go. And they know who they are, and that's why they're standing up and they're trying to tell you to be afraid of what comes from the skies, because they're afraid for themselves. Good. Be afraid. Be very afraid. I hope they're shaking in their boots. Okay, now this story here is about history. History changes all the time. Okay, our scientists find out new information that shows that some of their past theories are invalid or not correct anymore. This is one of those. Skull of Homo erectus throws story of human evolution into disarray. A haul of fossils found in Georgia suggests that half a dozen species of early human ancestors were actually all Homo erectus. The spectacular fossilized skull of an ancient human ancestor that died nearly 2 million years ago has forced scientists to rethink the story of early human evolution. Anthropologists unearthed the skull at the site of Damasi, a small town in southern Georgia where other remains of human ancestors, simple stone tools, and long-extinct animals have been dated to 1.8 million years old. Experts believe that the skull is one of the most important fossil finds to date, but it has proved as controversial as it is stunning. Analysis of the skull and other remains of Damasi suggests the scientists have been too ready to name separate species of human ancestors in Africa. Many of those species may now have to be wiped from the textbooks. The latest fossil is the only intact skull ever found of a human ancestor that lived in the early Pleistocene age when our predecessors first walked out of Africa. The skull adds to the haul of bones recovered from Damasi that belongs to 5 individuals, most likely an elderly male, 2 other adult males, a young male, and a juvenile of unknown sex. The site was busy watering a hole that human ancestors shared with giant extinct cheetahs, saber-toothed cats, and other beasts. The remains of the individuals were found in collapsed dens where carnivores had apparently dragged the carcasses to eat. They are thought to have died within a few hundred years of one another. Nobody ever seen such a well-preserved skull from this period, said Christopher Zollicoffer, a president at Zurich's University Anthropological Institute, who worked on the remains. This is the first complete skull of an adult early Homo. They simply did not exist before, he said. Homo is the genus of the great apes that emerged around 2.4 million years ago and includes modern humans. Because other researchers said the fossil was an extraordinary discovery, the significance is difficult to overstate. It is stunning in its completeness. This is going to be the first real classics of paleoanthropology, said Tim White, an expert on human evolution at the University of California, Berkeley. So, there you go. That's quite a find. And this find is certainly going to, well, it's one of many that is getting scientists to rethink what's going on. Alright. So let's move from there. Okay, so the piece I played earlier had to do with, earlier in the show, had to do with that a whistleblower. Now, we've heard of whistleblowers before, Julie, so we know that they exist. Edward Snowden's the most current one who's out there in the news, and we understand over time that this information that comes out from these whistleblowers does have a lot of validity. So, what is going on with this current one? Does it have anything to do with this object in the western sky? This is a website called Nibiru Seeker, Seeking the Truth. It's nibiruseeker.blogspot.com. And here, this latest post has to do with the object in the western sky. Now, if you haven't seen this object, I have seen this object. There are many around the world who are now seeing this object, taking pictures of it. Go out just before sunset. Look west, southwest. Look for a bright object in the sky. You can't miss it. It's not Venus, because careful examination you'll also be able to find Venus. It's not Saturn. It's not Mars. It's not something that when you use anything to look into star charts, it's not any star that should be there. It's something else. That's why people are intrigued. What is this thing? Okay? So go out yourself, right around sunset, look for it. You will see it. That's all you got to do. Open up your eyes and look and see. Okay? People around the world are seeing this. Anyway, this is some of the latest pictures. So this is the original photo. The bright object in the western sky shortly after sunset. It was taken on 1020 through a telescope. Looking through every sky app in View Sky, this object does not show up on any celestial map. Okay? So, these are the objects here. It says, when taking the original photo and using the brightness, contrast, and saturation, the above two images is what emerges. It is still difficult to pinpoint exactly what this object might be, but I encourage everyone to look into the western sky shortly after sunset. I've been monitoring the object since September, and it's been increasing in brightness. Okay? He's been monitoring it since September. I've been looking at it since August 25th was when I first saw it and recorded. I put up at the First Contact Radio YouTube page. I've got an image of it there. And people have been seeing it. Okay? Little by little, people have been seeing it. So, what do you think this is? I don't know. But we're hearing all these stories. So what I'm suggesting is that we need to pay attention and just be aware of the tricks that are played out there. You see, there's been a lot of tricks played on humanity. A lot of tricks played by the supposed leaders, which really aren't leaders. They're just kind of cowards in the position of leadership. But they use a lot of tricks, and we've heard about more tricks that they might be using, from blue beam to the alien invasions to the asteroid threat, to what goes down here with all the false flag events. That being the case, we need to really pay attention, because there's so many things that are out there that could fool us. We have to learn to look past the illusion to see what's going on. Okay? So, if indeed something strange does occur where there is an alien experience we have, with ships and everything, we don't want to jump right into the conclusion that it's an attack, because it could be something simulated from our own governments using Project Bluebeam, as they've talked about, and has been leaked out to the public for quite some time. So let's just pay attention. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Alright. Moving from there, this is Yeshua. Here we go.
Ranzapada.
Yeshua, you are the strongest of the strong. October 16th, 2013.
Hello my dearest ones, my beautiful friends. I come before you today with so much love in my heart for you and so much hope in my heart for you, and I see so much promise in you. You are the elite of the stars, starlight, every one of you. Your mission continues and it proceeds in ever-illuminated glory. You may be experiencing a lull right now in what you deem as your purpose, in what you deem as your mission, in what you deem as your path. But do not forget, dear ones, that you are ever solid in your endeavors, and are ever solid in your missions. As you envelop and enfold the energies coming to you, you may feel a difference in your perspectives, in the feel of your bodies. You may not be able to equate it to anything that you are familiar with. Now is the time to just go with it. For in the ever-winding road you are traveling, it is sure to come out into a beautiful meadow of your destination, so to speak, complete with fragrant flowers and lushness. Just because you cannot quantify your new feelings and experiences based on past measures and markers, it doesn't mean you are not going full speed ahead into what you have always seen as your destination, into full embodiment of your divinity, into full completion of your mission. And it is not easy right now, dear ones, for as we have warned you, or as we have prepared you, would be a better way of putting it, many things do seem to you to be in chaos and unexplainable premise. But as you trust your inner guidance, you are leading yourselves out of the fog and into blue skies of clarity, replete with new shining bodies of crystal in nature and complete with new wiring that will enable you to proceed into a new scenario of abundance and love-filled experiences. My love for you has never waned, and I never leave your sides. Yes, you make this journey alone, but you always have help propping you up with celestial purity and hope as you let it in and let it become your guiding star. Take a few moments now to assess how your body feels. Assess how your life feels. Does it not feel new and filled with promise of a new adventure? Move aside the dross of ill-gotten gains and seemingly misspent loyalties. Were not these experiences for the sake of your learning and your growth? Are you ready to leave them there and march on, holding on only to the gift of the lesson? And I beseech you, dear ones, to remember to always come back to your center and assess your connection with your divine selves, with your higher selves, with Creator, with all of us in the celestial realm and galactic realm, and with all of your fellow journeying comrades, as we all form a full circle, a bond of love, making every part of that circle stronger and more resilient to withstand any seeming setbacks and lags. For you are full of fortune and promise, and it may just take constant reassessment of your true nature and your true purpose and desires for a better world. Always hold on to that and never let go, for you are getting closer every day, even when things around you feel like they are falling apart. For they are not. They are merely reworking themselves into the correct coagulation for your ultimate success and glory as pure warriors of peace and love marching forward into a new world. And we have not forgotten you. We never will. And we are always there with you. And we never leave. And we are your mentors and guides, but you possess all of it inside that will take you forward into the world you wish for, dear ones. So grab a hold of the reins and don't look back. You are speeding ahead into a beautiful world. So do not forsake yourselves. Do not get discouraged or fall into despair, for you are constantly finding reserves within you that you thought were not there. We are cheering you on and propping you up when you get weary. You are the strongest of the strong, and do not forget it. I leave you now with these words of encouragement to carry on in the beautiful fashion that has been your trademark since time beginning. You are veterans at this endeavor you embarked on so many eons ago. The picture is becoming clearer and your faculties are becoming clearer, and your world is shaping up into the possibilities you have always heralded as your birthright. Carry on, dear soldiers of love and peace and glory. The time for your full awakening is nigh. Take this all in now and know your strength. Know your capabilities. Know your possibilities. See them as coming to fruition. Don't back down. I am forever at your service and in your hearts, as you are in mine. Your loving brother, Yeshua.
Alright, very nice message from Yeshua. And the angel message for today: your children here and in heaven are loved, well, and happy. Your children here and in heaven are loved, happy, and well. Alright, very nice. Very nice message to know that. And that brings us finally to our meditation for today. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. I want you to imagine that you are looking over the world, and as you do, you're aware of all the stories of news that are coming forward. Stories of corruptions and lies, stories of violence, stories of government takeovers, stories of wars, and on, and you realize there are many problems. And you are aware of some of the other stories that are being told, stories of extraterrestrial intervention and extraterrestrial invasions. You have comets coming towards the planet and flying all around us, and sun to keep sending out flares. And as we contemplate all of these things, we realize it can be a bit overwhelming to consider all of the changes that are taking place right now. But that all of these changes are ultimately necessary. For this change that is taking place is simply a breaking down of one form and the building of another. So as we experience life changing and breaking down, let us remember that something is being built. And so when we contemplate and consider all of the problems and challenges of the world, and all the stories and rumors that we hear, we understand that if we simply focus into our heart, listen to the inner guidance that is going on, we'll be able to see through the illusions to what is true. We'll be able to understand what is falling apart and what is coming together. And as we experience all of these things, we realize that we are right where we need to be at this moment in time. and that our evolution is occurring according to the destiny outlined for us, and that our free will is that which is allowing us to either fulfill or not. So let us use our free will to create good upon this planet, to wipe away all the darkness. Let us use our free will to get in synchronicity with the plan of change that is taking place, so that we change with the change, that we smoothly evolve into the beings that we are intended to be. And with compassion we let go of all the things that need to be let go of, trusting that they will be taken care of in the way they need to be, and evolve at the pace that they need to evolve. And I want you to imagine yourself as a small child running around in this great big universe of ours, aware that there is a great creator. And as a small child, aware of the great creator, knowing that all is well, and that the creator makes sure we have all that we need. And that we grow into the beings that we were destined to be. So let us put our mindset in that of a small child, just to be aware of the simplicity of life, so that through all the complications and illusions we can learn to see with this simplicity, and through this simplicity able to see the truth of what is really going on. So let's imagine ourselves going into the world as truth seekers, opening our hearts and our minds to be aware of all that is taking place, and using our discernment to know the things that are not for our best interest. Let our subconscious mind continue on this journey of seeking the truth as we go throughout this day, and let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. And exhale. And open your eyes. That is it, my friends. That is our show for today. Thank you for being here. Just go out into the world, use your discernment, and get in touch with that inner part of yourself. Things are changing. They seem to be changing quickly. We need to really be on guard and pay attention, because we don't know what's going to happen today or tomorrow. But all signs say that something is happening. And it's happening now. And we need to pay attention. So let's do that in the world. And let's just keep sending love and light out to keep each other safe. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. You have an awesome day, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.